Welcome to Ask the Professor. I'm your host, Professor Ben. We get together live every Wednesday for about 20 minutes so we could talk about all things business, influence, sales, all the challenges that we face every day in the work week. And our producer, Ari, is here helping us keep everything together and flowing right. So, Ari, thank you for all you do to make that happen. And we are also joined by a returning guest, Mike Dodd, CEO and co-founder of Propane Ninja. Mike, thank you so much for carving time out of your crazy schedule to be on the show again today.
Definitely. Professor Penn, it's a pleasure to join you. I'm looking forward to diving into this topic today.
It's a great topic, and definitely this is like a must-hear topic for all business leaders, for all founders, because we're talking about a term that really I'm not surprised is becoming a trend, and that is the analog comeback. Right? Everyone's talking about AI and all the crazy things that AI can do, and there are a lot of great things about AI. And probably what we need to do really is just also remember the importance of that human connection. And here's what's interesting that I find with your story, Mike, is that you've seen tremendous growth over the last 12 plus years. And along the way, you've been investing in technology, including AI, right? So you believe in it, you've seen the benefits of AI and other technologies. That's been a part of your building your strategic growth here. And at the same time, you're also invested in the human part. But tell us a little bit about your AI investments.
Yeah, sure. Personal investment, time. I think everybody can relate to that. Spending time on something that's new is really important to learn it. Making a lot of mistakes along the way. But we've invested some infrastructure. I mean, we're a Google Workplace here, so we're fully integrated in the Gemini products, as well as ChatGPT Teams. You name it. I use some Grok from time to time. Definitely the paid versions are giving me a little more amplification on the products than the non-paid version. But in reality, they're all really interesting right now. We're doing a lot. We have a suite of products for AI bot creation that we're tooling around on. We're doing some smaller plays in the company now, where we're seen some great success. But we're very wary and we're cautious of how we want to use that because it's really important we understand what our customer wants. And I think that's where if we have any hesitation in AI right now, it's making sure that the customer is receiving it well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're supporting your team. So you're basically investing also in information being all in one place that your team can gather on the fly, right? So Ari, I think we've got a little visual for that too. So that what's the official term of this? It's retrieval, augment, generation, or augmented generation, right? So this is new for all of us. And so your team has access to the Propane Ninja way at the touch of their fingertips to be able to get that information all at one time. So, I mean, just a great investment and a great way for companies to make sure that tribal knowledge is shared throughout the team and is not just resting in one person's head. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's an important fact. What we recognized years ago was that we were using like 12 different softwares to not communicate to one another, and we didn't have clarity on the business. And as we basically found that as a target of interest for us to make changes to, and we decided we needed to find a single source of truth. And at the time, AI wasn't really a thing. But now that we're getting more into, we're using an ERP system, we're integrating softwares to migrate them to a single source of truth for data purposes. And that's now allowing us to tap into the data across multiple platforms.
Wow.
And that's been tremendous for us to access that much data. And as we move forward in that process, we'll continue to see more clarity, be able to get answers faster. A lot of times that was the bane of our existence was we can't see past our nose with the data. We need to change that.
That's huge. And then think about how this helps with onboarding new employees, right? Being able to cross-train employees. I mean, that information is right there. So your AI investments have been really valuable. You're even using, I think, some bots, right? So some actual audio bots
Yeah.
for some of your calls. Tell us a little about
couple,
that.
couple different examples. There's something fun for me. We're in the propane industry. We would hire in service technicians, not always from our industry, but the gentlemen that are really handy, very talented with a wrench. Still need to learn our trade. So we're
Yeah.
using a field service bot that I call Propane Pro, basically able to call in this bot or text into this bot or email this bot and ask the technical questions that you need or you would normally have to call a supervisor for or reference a code book for. You're able to get
Wow.
within a minute, you've got an answer. And as I'll give you a good example. If we're working on a tankless water heater in the field, servicing a water heater, if there's a question on the multiple steps on how to finish that service, we can tap into Propane Pro, get the remainder of those steps to make sure that we've done a thorough job. That's been huge for us.
That's a big deal. I mean, that is absolute game changing for the work going on out in the field. And then what about some of the outgoing service calls out there too? Tell us a little about those.
Yeah, yep. So that was another target. We've from sometimes we have a high season. It's challenging for our staff to keep up with maybe past due bills with our clients. So we've been able to amplify our accounts receivables department by executing on an outbound calling bot. Somebody who's very cordial, very customer care oriented. We've been able to design the AI instructions to be softer in nature to make sure they're polite and talkative to the customers and be able to solve problems. This is really about providing the resources so that the AI bot can do the job you're trying to get done with it, and then having the bot be available to transfer that call to a live representative if somebody gets frustrated or if they want to make a payment.
There we go.
In the future, we have dreams that the bot's going to do the payment process as well. Possibly we could do that pretty soon. But it's a step-by-step process. We've had a great success with that where you can make, and I guess you could kind of relate it to a calling bot or a monster connector or like a high-speed caller. That's how AI bots can work these days. You can make 100 calls in an hour, where you get 25 or 30% of those calls don't even answer. And so you can kind of throttle your AI bots and your outbound bots. I think it's great. We have kind of prepped our customers. We've sent out some messages as well to make sure that they're aware we are utilizing this service so they're not taken aback by some AI calling them. And for some, it's actually kind of fun. They don't get calls from AI bots all the time, and you can kind of interact with them. So we get to see the transcripts of these calls and also see like the positive or negative natures of what we're doing with our customers.
That's a great point too. Like, it's actually kind of fun too. I love the fact that you gave him the heads up. And I mean, this is sounding like Propane meets Star Trek. I mean, like, you're really bringing things into the future here, and streamlining labor costs, right? Customer satisfaction. I mean, things that you can do. Like, no human can make 100 calls in an hour. This can't be done. So you're investing in that technology that is, again, absolutely game changing and can streamline and create some efficiencies. Now, what's so interesting about this, Mike, is that as forward thinking as you and your team are with technology, with AI, you still are the one beating the drum the loudest about the analog comeback, right? The human side of it, the connection side of it. So what's that like in a company that is invested in technology, at the same time understands the importance of the human connection?
Well, I think as a CEO and entrepreneur and founder of this business, starting from $5,000 in a pickup truck to where we are with 75 employees today, I've been through a lot of different things, and even today, I get bombarded by spam calls and emails and different salespeople, and I'm mindful of my own personal space, and I think I try to relate that to our customers and making sure that if they're going to spend a minute calling our company or dialing or emailing our company, that they're going to have a great experience so that they do it again the next time and they don't get frustrated, which I've heard so many stories. And this is where it kind of boils down to, before we were doing bulk fuel, we were listening to the market of bulk fuel because we were doing cylinder exchange. And at the time, we were getting calls for services we didn't provide, but we were listening to customers and they were telling us how frustrated they were, and we were taking notes. And so as years went by, we were able to convert that into applicable service offering that is high level customer experience. And that's kind of where we are right now. We're really focused on customer experiences. We're spending the money on training our employees on how to answer phone calls, how to disarm
Yes.
individuals that might be frustrated because of the process that we might have caused some frustrations. And then also constantly looking at those frustrations and seeing how can we build upon a better business, and using those frustrations to solve problems. So, understanding that this company is successful because we are taking care of our customers. And so answering phones, getting away from the answering services that so many people are using now.
Yes.
And AI bots are right there. Even my voice over IP system today offers an AI bot for overflow calls. It's a touchy subject right now, but I still believe if you can find a way to have a person answer the call and be instantly providing a solution to the problem that they called about. Time is money, and that includes with your clients. They don't want to waste their time calling 3-4 times to get the same question answered, basically. So that's kind of where we are. We're focused on we do focus on SLA. So we have a voice over IP system that allows us to look at our SLA, service level, agreements. We set ourselves. We set standards for ourselves, and it's important. You set barriers. You set for yourself so that you can hold yourself to a higher standard. Holding your team and yourself to a higher standard is a huge way to level up. You level up by setting that milestone and then getting to another milestone. Maybe start low. Hey, I want to answer 90% of the calls. Let's go to 95% of the calls after we're comfortable with that. We've been successful with that. And then we want to eventually get to 100%. If I could do 120% of my calls, I would. But, that's where I think we're operating somewhere at the 99% level right now. So we only miss a handful of calls a week of like 500 or 600 calls as a company. I think that's huge. It's a huge testament to our targets that we hit over the last year. We set these goals, and then like my last call, I did mention like setting goals is huge for a company of any size. Even if you're a one-man band and you're doing everything, set your own goals. Try to attain those goals. I think you'll see that you can surpass those very easily once they've been set in stone.
Heck yeah. And I love those milestones that you set, right? So again, we're talking about bringing the human component back to the customer service. And if we're, for any of those that are listening, the founders and CEOs that are listening, or those that are in charge of the customer service that are listening, maybe right now we're not in a good place and we've got to figure something out. We don't necessarily have to go to this specific topic here, Mike. Okay, we're only answering 50% of our calls. We don't have to go from 50% to 100%. Like, it's okay to set some metrics up saying, I'm going to go from 50 to 70.
That's right.
Right. What do I have to do to get to that right now? And then once we get that operating fairly smoothly, let's build up. We'll go from 70 to 75 to 80. And we could set goals like that for any of these metrics that we're looking at. So that's a great framework there.
Yeah, I think it's important that we equip our employees as well. So if you have staff answering phone calls, make sure they're equipped. It's one thing being cordial and nice on the phone. It's another thing being able to provide that solution at the moment that the customer calls. And so I think we go back to the AI and the technology side. When you have a single source of truth, that gives you and your staff really a window to all the answers. And so when you're tapped in with Gemini in your Google Workplace, that means your Drive. That means all the documents, all your SOPs, all the answers that you generally would need to have are at your fingertips. Creating those SOPs, if they're not already created, take the time. As much as it can be a bore for some of us ambitious entrepreneurs out there, to stop and write down in stone and provide your staff the answers to their questions and provide the data accessible at a moment's notice. I think that's huge. I think that's a big component of this.
That's a great little timeout there for the founders that are listening, or those that are in charge of certain departments. It may not be fun. It may not be exciting. We've got to document the SOPs. We've got to have the one pagers. In your case, the Propane Ninja way of handling the things that we have to handle throughout the day. If it's not documented, then there's no way to provide that consistency that you need in customer service. So really important part there. And it also sounds like you're doing just an amazing job of utilizing AI, utilizing technology to make the human responsibility smoother and faster and easier. So from a customer's perspective, they're in touch with a real human. They're getting the relationship component. Difficult to get that in business these days. So fantastic, you guys are providing that. And then
Yeah.
behind the scenes, the humans, right, the team members on your team have AI to support them, are able to move faster, be more efficient, be more accurate because they've got that technology investment behind the scenes. That's a great formula.
Yeah, it's good. I was thinking while you're talking, I think another component that we've really established AI, and this is lower level AI. This is like newer and, amateur level AI, if you want to call it. But basically, creating some Chat GPT itself. Like, if a lot of people don't realize that the GPT is actually a product offering that Chat GPT offers, or a Google Gemini Gem is what they call it in the
Yep.
Gemini world. But creating basically, if you think about it in your work desk on a day-to-day basis, if you're doing a lot of repeat tasks, like analytics is a great example. If you're a marketer creating blogs is another great example. Take the time, it may take 2 or 3 hours, but take the time, create that GPT or that gem that helps you get through that process faster. That's how we work smarter. That's how we are more productive. That's how we can impress our bosses. There's a lot of things there. Honestly, it may take an hour to learn what a GPT is, or it will help you through that entire process. There's times when I've actually have two screens open. One's a Chat GPT that's training me on how to create a GPT, and the other side, I'm creating the GPT. It's a weird feeling. I never knew I'd get here in life, but it's quite amazing, and that's the learning process with AI right now. It's the best you can do is be a sponge.
Yeah, absolutely. And then do those little micro steps to get it involved. And yet you bring up, so like, okay, we're not using the most advanced of the advanced technology out there in terms of AI. It's an okay place to start, and it has its value. Like, you're seeing the ROI pretty much on day one from all the hard work and from
Mm-hmm.
the technology investments that you're doing. So, okay, you don't have to be. I'm saying Star Trek as if like I'm 100 years old, but there's other cool shows, little sci-fi shows out there, but you don't necessarily have to be that forward thinking. As you mentioned, like, we can start off with the elementary version of AI and still have a tremendous impact and still have the human side for our customers.
I think Star Trek's pretty applicable for the propane industry. We've been
Okay.
around a very long time. There's a lot of family-owned businesses that exist in our industry. Third, fourth generation companies gentlemen that are and ladies that are my age that are running companies all across the country. But it is definitely a little out of the box for our industry to get ready for the AI world. I mean, I think I know our industry is barely up to speed on the software world, where they're still operating on
Yep.
paper tickets, and they're dropping off paper in a lot of places using filing cabinets. So and they're successful. They've been around a long, long time. Propane's an interesting one. What's important, I think another thing I'd like to mention is on our roadmap, AI is extremely exciting. And I think AI world almost doesn't really quite know where it's headed. It has a roadmap, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to land at that destination by next year or the year after. We're anticipating our software integrations to finish up and complete by the end of this year. And that's going to include AI dispatching. So our route optimization is going to start to be analyzed at every millisecond by AI. Did we make successful deliveries? How do we make a
Wow.
better delivery the next time? If your tank is say 100 gallons, how do we deliver within that efficiency threshold that we need to deliver it for, so that you don't run out of gas and we make a maximum delivery effort so that we can mitigate our costs. So that makes the world of propane it's just more cost savings with regard to AI to the consumer. We can get smarter, we can work smarter, and that's going to save a lot of money for consumers in the marketplace that are buying propane on a daily basis.
Yes, same thing here. What I'm hearing, same pattern is it's okay to crawl, right, before you walk and then before you run. So you don't have to go with autonomous vehicles delivering your propane, yet you can still get efficiencies and save money and save time for your team by
Mhm.
investing in just some of the more simple things. It's a great formula there, and hopefully encouraging to those that are listening now going, hey, look, you know, they're doing it in the propane industry. If Mike can do it, then anyone can do it, right? Like you're making those steps, you're making it happen, which is so huge. And then like real quick, I'm watching our time. I know we got to jump here, but
Yeah.
like maybe just a little second. How is this impacting the growth of your team? So like they're not part of a boring old timer kind of company, right? Like they're on the forefront of this technology. How does that impact hiring and keeping your team engaged? Are they loving it?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's also it's a cultural thing. So when you're coming from a different company that's not run like ours, it takes a little time to understand how we are, transparency, what our core values are. I mean, we are growth focused, and we do anticipate on growing our business 2 or 3 times the size we are today over the next 5 to 10 years. And in order to do that, we need to convince our employees that it's important for you to grow personally, for you to grow educationally through these different components like AI. We're talking how do we work smarter, not necessarily harder. We have a lot of hard workers in our company, and it's a matter of training them and teaching them that you can work hard, but also, hey, let's lighten your load a little bit. You don't have to have those extra clicks. I always use the word clicks because it's like really that's where the fat is in the workday. As in you're
Yeah.
clicking the same thing 5, 10, 100 times in one day. How do we mitigate those and solve those problems? So it's really getting them on the understanding, and we follow that system, EOS, and there's a book, that How to Be a Great Boss book, which teaches quantitatively how do we target those issues, and we work toward a black and white environment to say, I can recognize I've been on it so long, but our newer staff, how do we get them to recognize that friction point that's in their day, and then teaching them how to solve their own problems, so that they never come up, those problems never come up again. New problems arise, and then they basically are able to accomplish those solutions quickly, without much interruption. And we do a lot of same page meetings here. We do a lot of forecasting meetings as well. What's going on this week, this month, this year? Trying to keep as many people that want to be on the same page. Transparency is huge when it comes to strategic management.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, Mike, is we're investing in technology. It's helping us on labor costs. It's helping us meet customer demands. And it's also creating a culture for those that want to grow, that want to learn how to solve their own problems and do bigger and
Mhm.
better things throughout their career. And as
Yeah.
somebody who works with a lot of fourth year college students as they're coming up to graduation and they're freaking out over getting, starting their career, getting into the job force, what I hear is this is what they're looking for, right? It's not about, do I want to work in propane or any other industry? It's, I want to work in an organization where the culture wants me to grow, where I can do bigger and better things, where I'll be a different person after my first year on the team. And it sounds like you're bringing that, you're delivering that for your team members right now, which I think is a huge deal, a big deal.
Yeah, amplify, using AI to amplify your work environment is the key here. Making sure the customers you understand the customer needs you. They don't need AI. They don't need the technology. They need you to pull through for them. So when we sign up a customer, that we don't really want the customer to have a problem. I don't think anybody wants to get another call from a customer ever again. In reality, they just
Yeah.
want to be there before the customer needs them and solve the problem before the
Amen.
customer has the problem. And
Amen.
so that's really what we're working toward, right? At the end of the day, that's what's going to solve your frustrations and create a lot of success is solving the problems before they come up for your clients.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Ari, I see Ari's face going, guys, this is a great conversation, but we have got to go. We have got to go. Mike, thank you so much for, again, carving time out and how crazy busy your schedule is. So we appreciate this amazing insight. You're helping founders and department heads across the world just make better decisions and learn from some of the things that you've done. Can we continue this conversation again? Maybe bring you back on the show in a few weeks. Is that something you're open to?
I'd absolutely love that.
Oh my gosh, that'd be great. Hey, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for chiming in. We did not get a chance to get to everyone's questions, but we'll make sure that we get through those as we continue. And we appreciate you chiming in. We'll see you next Wednesday at 11:45 Eastern. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ben.
Guys.